Hello and welcome to Let's Program with Cientier, and hopefully the black screen that I just saw in the preview doesn't really impact the video too much. Shouldn't, because I haven't done anything but said hello. And we're coming back to the task tracker program, which I started, this is episode 8, so 7 episodes ago, depending upon how you want to do math. Remember, drink water. Okay, so looking at where we left off, it's been a few days since the last recording session. So let's go ahead and look at what we've got going on right here, because this is where I last had the program. It seems to me that I was in the process of wanting to add tasks to categories. So I have, the category control right here, and I want to add tasks to it. So there's a couple of things that I needed to do. Let's actually vertical scroll bar dot is there like a scroll position? Okay, there's a scroll thing right here. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so this is going to need to do some stuff. What do I get? New value, old value. Those are what's going to be useful here. Okay, cool. So I want to do some stuff with this function as well. Just which task control is at the top of the list. Okay. So the question then is, can I artificially scroll it, as it were? So when I add a task, this should be the only route for adding a task. Okay, so that adds that on. Okay, so I need to okay, so these are going to behave differently. Those are the tasks in the category specified. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of fill some of this in as I'm thinking through stuff. Old tasks, but don't lose the vertical scroll bar. Okay. I'm going to say okay a lot because that's apparently something that I do when I'm recording these. I'm noticing. So load the controls for each task. Okay, so what makes sense here is to go for each task in category dot all categories id dot tasks add task false, because we're not selecting it. Okay, so we just want to work through that add task and have that kind of be the entry point for adding tasks for a couple of reasons that should become evident momentarily. Okay, select task by ID. Okay, so what this wants to do right here is it wants to for an I equals 0, I is I'm doing it this way because I'm going to need to know what index the control is at. Task controls dot count plus I. So find the task with the given task ID. So if task controls I dot actually, okay, so I'm gonna need to not have insert on. So this is a handy tip. If you ever want to know if you have insert on, when insert's on, it will blink on the current character, and that means if you like type, say, an L, it will overwrite it. which most of the time is what we don't want. Theoretically, it could speed up certain operations, but most of the time we're so used to not having insert mode on that it's super confusing. But if you ever accidentally bump insert, you'll be able to recognize that it's in that state. Because like even right here, if I go before it, it will start blinking on that one, right? So right now it's just blinking on a cursor because it's a space that's next. But that's a way that you can check if you've accidentally bumped insert, because most of the time we really don't want it. Okay. So this is going to have a set width. This is also going to need to have... I'll make this function later. Internal task task get... we'll just return null for now. And that's going to need to have proper stuff in just a sec. So let's just go ahead and make task owner equals null. And instead of returning null, we can return owner. Okay. Now I can come back here and go task.task.id is equal to ID stuff right here. Code that selects that task. So this is probably going to be vertical scroll bar dot, I don't know, value equals ID. Break. Actually, just straight up return, because we're done. We're done. Leave the function. Technically, break would basically do the same thing. It'd break out of this loop and then go out that way, but I might as well just use a return there. They're kind of interchangeable in this particular piece of functionality. But, you know, return feels a little bit more immediate. Don't know if it is, but it feels that way. Obviously, if there are no task controls, it won't find anything. If it doesn't find the task, it can't like scroll to it. So what I really want right here is to move my task controls based upon their relative position. So what I'm going to do is 2 stages. So step 1, set everything before the indicated control to the top. Control above this control. And step 2, set everything after the indicated control below this control. Okay, so let's just do this pre-step, which is to go task controls e dot new value, because I don't care about the old value. I just care about what the new value is. Dot top equals 3, because 3 is my default top. Because that's what I like. Your opinion may be different. That's cool. That is cool. I am totally for that. Okay, so for int I equals task controls dot or no, not that, equals e dot new value -1. Because remember, we're wanting to go everything before this. I is greater than or equal to 0. Minus I. I'm saying that very loudly because that's a spot where I am liable to make a mistake, and everybody is liable to make a mistake, because rarely do you iterate backwards or down, or however you want to think of that. It's rare to do a decrement, basically, is what I'm saying, and I just had a drink of delicious water. Decrements, if you are not taking into account that you're needing to do them, it's really easy to accidentally do a ++i there, even after setting everything else up to be a decrement, and then have everything explode. So task controls I. So I want to make int y equals 0. Okay, and the reason for that should be clear in just a moment. So y needs to equal this. Actually, let's set this to be 3. So minus equals this controls I dot height minus 3, or height plus 3 rather. I need to get this is effectively y equals y minus blah blah blah, and so I need to make sure I'm doing plus 3 because I'm trying to decrease it by an additional 3. So I mean it's a bit redundant to have that there and there, but it's to set everything else up. So yeah. Task controls I dot top equals y. Okay, so this is going to move this fellow up, basically. And then I just need to do kind of the opposite here, where int y equals 3. Actually, no, I want to do this plus dot height, which probably is bottom, but because I'm being paranoid about what bottom means. Oh, and I need to get rid of this int because I'm redefining y. So for int I equals e dot new value plus 1. I is less than task controls count plus plus I. This time we're plus plussing because we're going down. Task controls I dot top equals y. Y plus equals task controls I dot height plus 3. Okay, because we're going down by an additional 3. Something that's important to remember, I'll just remind people if you don't know, windows like this right here are drawn from top to bottom. So up here is 0, up at the top of the screen, and down here is, in this case, was it's 1920 by 1080. So down here is 1080. So that's just how it works. So if you don't know, that's just convention. I'm super used to it at this point, but it might be really weird at first, just because it's kind of like this is left to right is kind of what you'd expect. 0 to 1920 over here at the edge. So 0 to screen width and 0 to window width left to right, and then 0 to window height top to bottom. But that's kind of flipped from what you normally think of with standard Cartesian coordinates, which go 0 and then the x is the same way, but the y you'd normally expect to go up. So this is kind of vertically flipped. So just something to let you know in case you not expect. This means that a bunch of controls will be positioned logically above the window, above where they can be seen. But that's where we want them. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and scroll stuff for us. Now, what's really important right here with add task, by default, this thing has a value of 0, a maximum of 1. I should set its maximum to 0. I don't know that that's going to change anything. Let's make sure it builds. Build started, build succeeded, okay, builds. So that's important. We want to make sure that that builds. Okay, so adding task should, among other things that it does vertical scroll bar dot maximum plus plus. So the maximum should increment because we want it, to be able to do that. If select is equal, select is equal to true. Of course, it's going to be equal to true. If select vertical scroll bar dot value equals, so I'm actually equals task controls count, and then go task controls dot add this task control. So I want to go ahead and go right here, add stuff with scroll bar and tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and make a category view task control CVTC. Again, I just like to use the camel case capital letter for the initials of things that I make for no particular reason. And then CVTC. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and add our task to our list of task controls. It's going to put it there. And then the other thing that actually... Okay, so I'm going to actually do this. Int task control select index equal task controls dot count. So I just spotted a potential problem. If I don't put this here, then this right here, select index, yeah, that thing. Then this right here won't have this control in the list of task controls to move the position of when I do stuff. So yeah, that would be bad. I also want to go ahead and position the control. If we select the control, then do so. Okay, so right here, now remember, because we don't have an auto scroll bar, this is going to work a little bit different. By which I mean I hope that the scroll bar won't go completely crazy. I just enjoyed some water. Okay. So what I would need right now is I need task controls dot last dot top dot bottom. It's the distance in pixels between the bottom edge of the control and the top edge of its container's client area. Yeah, that's what I want. Plus 3 is CVTC dot top equals that. And I should also, you'll notice that I set this width right here. So I should take this and CVTC dot set width to that. Just because it's important to make sure that I'm getting this thing's width positioned or set correctly as well. So I'll update my comments to better reflect that. Okay, so this at this point should theoretically allow me to be able to see the controls that are in this, and hopefully I set up the calls elsewhere. Now this doesn't do anything. So the first thing that I want to go ahead and do is put task owning task right here and go owner equals owning task. So this is kind of important. Now this is going to need to change to internal because because task is an internal type, not a public type. And this is going to be like, what are you talking about? But we can just go ahead and throw a task in there and everything should be honky-dory. Now then, this becomes responsible for displaying the task. Now the question that I have here is, how do I want to do this? And what I want to try is this, this flow layout panel. I don't know how this works. So I'm going to call this flow master. Again, I've not ever worked with one of these, so I don't know what it's going to do. Yeah. That's so yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how it works. Auto size, I wonder if I can specify vertical auto size. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that right this moment. I'm going to go ahead and put it at 0, 0. That's where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and stretch it to fit this thing. Flowmaster dot size equals client size. That's what I want. Let's see. This guy, back color, control light. Okay, I've set that. That's good. Okay. Now, what I need to do here is I'm going to need to grab some specific information from the owning tasks. So there's some stuff that I know that I'm going to need. Most notably, I'm going to need the name. So I'm going to go ahead and call this name, because that's what I need. Tasks need names. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in information. Now this thing shouldn't have a resize per se. Everything should resize through set width. So I'm going to worry about that in a moment. But name.text equals owning task.name. Okay. So, enjoying some water there. Let's see. Create responding tasks. So this right here, I'm just going to have it go width equals width flowmaster dot width equals client size dot width. Okay, cool beans. In case you like your beans cool. Okay, so this is going to be like name dot text changed. The reason why I'm doing this here is so if I added this through sort of the field over here, the properties window pane thing, task dot name equals name dot text. It would create problems where doing this would trigger this function, which I don't want it to do. I want it to trigger later, so I'm just setting it up like that. Sets the width of the control and handles some potential vertical resizing necessary to compensate. The new width. So I'm not sure if this thing, how well this can support like left to right. Interesting. I kind of want top down rather than left to right. That makes sense. So stuff should go like that, that. So if it gets narrower, it should get taller. I'm not sure. This is an interesting question of like, how do I handle stuff with this? It could be that what makes sense is to kind of set. I'm just going to actually change this to size, just straight up equaling client size. So what might make sense, sense to set the height to the total area of the contained controls divided by the new width. So the idea here, and this would be imperfect, but would be to set, oh, okay, so this has gotten narrower, so we need to make these things taller enough that they can kind of hold everything, but I don't know. It's the question that I have is with this auto size right here, if I set it if I set its width, does that mean that it will vertically resize itself to kind of fit things? And that I do not know. So I might conduct an experiment to find out. But for now, this is kind of enough to kind of test things with. So let's go ahead and build this and see what happens when I run it and let's just make a category and named Steved. I don't know why. File, new task. Okay, so we're adding to Steve, and let's just go with the default name of unnamed task. Okay, now what we've seen is stuff is exploding. Question is why? Well, because there's not actually a last. So, what I need to do is if task control, what the heck is that? Task controls dot count is greater than 0. Do this, else cvtc.top equals 3. Okay, that's just a very simple fix. I should also go right here and go vertical scroll bar dot maximum equals 0. It should no controls means nothing to scroll to. Okay. So that was just a very simple things explode. Now if I try to make a new task, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I need to come in here and go if category dot all categories dot count is equal to 0, message box dot show cannot add cannot add tasks if there are no categories. Add so actually what I want to do here, this is kind of an interesting thing that I can do. So plus environment dot new line plus environment dot new line. Action error. Okay, so actually what I want to do off here is go, would you like to add a new category? Okay, so action error, buttons, yes, no, icon, error, it's an error. Yeah, that's fine. Default button is button 1, yes. So then I want to go, if this has a result of yes, then go to, which most people tell you to never use, case item type dot category. Else return. Or else close return. Oop. There we go. Okay, so what this should hopefully do, if I've done it correctly, so goto is useful in switch statements. There's actually, I'm going to point out a big difference between C# and C++ for anybody who's familiar with C++. In C++, if you don't include a break, you'll just automatically what's called flow to the next case statement you have below you. You can do that in C# if and only if your case doesn't do anything. So if, for example, you had case item category case item dot task with nothing in between them, then that's okay. But if you actually do anything, then it's not. And the reason is because C# will automatically rearrange your case statements in order to have them in sort of the optimal flow or optimal locations to make the code as efficient as possible. C++ will not do that for you. So C# requires you to have breaks on any cases that do things. So if you want to get that flow behavior, you have to use go to the case that you want it to go to. So you have to be very explicit about that behavior. So now if I go new task, it should say, oh, cannot add tasks, there are no categories. Add a category, yes. And then it says add category. So that behaves the way that I want it to. Now, just a quick check. If I click no, then it just closes that. And then this right here does not return a result. Object disposed exception occurred in that. Okay. Yeah, so that object kind of got destroyed before it did anything, which is understandable because it got closed right there, and now we can't reference it. So what we should actually do is what we should actually do right here is we should go ahead and set the dialog result equal to something bizarre, like abort. And right here, we should go if if.dialog result is equal to abort, return dialog result dot abort. Okay, now obviously this doesn't quite work, so let's go ahead and set category index equals to -1 and name equals none. Actually name to aborted operation. Okay, so then this gets called find all references. Now the only spot where this is going to actually have an error. Okay, yeah, but see, these are both checking if the result is okay. So if the result isn't okay, then it's not going to do anything. So it's not too big of a deal. So now if I go in here, so it's always a good idea to check like all things. And if I click no, it just, okay, now, oh, yeah, yep. This just needs to have return and not close. Okay, always test your stuff. No, did not explode. That is what we want. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our category. Steved. Now what? Oh, right. This is okay. So that's not straightforward. That is not straightforward. Okay, so this is going to require a little bit more of an elaborate thing to do. Okay, I'm just going to come up here because I want to test something else, but to do add functionality to allow this to instead add a category if no categories exist. Okay. Excuse me. So I'm going to just add that, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this the proper way. Steved for no reason. If I select Steved, it looks like this, and I can add a task to Steved. It's called the unnamed task. Okay, so what's going on here? New value is 1. Task controls index of 0. E, not E. E is not useful. So the question right here is vertical scroll bar. The maximum is 1. Do I need to go? Okay. I'm just gonna put return right here. Need to evaluate possible values of the scroll bar. Okay. We'll just do unnamed category. I'm tired of naming my stuff. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything. This is obviously not doing anything either. So the question is, that's right. Does adding a task over here? Okay, it does call add task. Okay, so what I've decided, executive action, is next time we will come in on the why is this not working and how do we get tasks to show up. So that's going to be our train or our effort for next time. So until then, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.